Welcome back to another Fall Friday, where every weekend in the month of October and November, I am sharing with you the best fall recipes. And today specifically, I am using some discounted groceries that I picked up. If you're interested in that kind of thing, make sure you check out the grocery hauls I have listed down in the description box for you. And if you like this kind of content with recipes for your week, make sure you give this video a like and let's get started. Today we are going to start with dessert, and I am using some cinnamon that I purchased on clearance a while back, and then the apples were down to 99 cents a pound. I'm going to chop those up and make sure that they are in small pieces because this is not for pie, this is for cookies. So we are making some apple pie cookies with a lattice top, and they are so delicious. The small pieces are pretty key. So we're going to start on the stovetop with melting 2 tablespoons of butter and adding 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. You can always add more if you want. And then 1/3 cup of white sugar. Go ahead and get that all combined with the apples. And then you're going to add 1/3 cup of water. That's just going to give it some extra liquid, and it's going to give it a really nice sauce. Once the apples are cooked a little bit more tender, you're going to add a cornstarch slurry and let it cook for 1 minute longer. And then you're going to remove it from the heat and let it cool. We don't want to do this while it's hot. And then we're moving on to the cookie base. And this is the fun part. We are using pie crust. You can of course make your own, but the store-bought one just has a really good texture to me for cookies. So go ahead and cut out about 18 of these, and then you'll end up with 9 cookies total because you need a bottom and a top. And I am doing lattice top, so drop a little bit of the pie filling on the bottom cookie, and then with the top you're going to have strips, and then just do a crisscross lattice shape. Or instead of doing strips, you could just lay a flat circle piece on top and crimp it. We're going to bake this on a parchment-lined baking sheet at 400 degrees for about 20 minutes or until they're fully cooked. And when they come out, sprinkle with some cinnamon and sugar, and these are so good. They are literally little miniature apple pies, and they're always a huge hit every time I make them for a get-together. Moving on to our dinner, we're going to make some butternut squash ravioli, and I am using a squash that I picked up for 99 cents total. Normally at my grocery store, these are almost $1.50 a pound, so this was really exciting for us. And we're going to scoop out all of the seeds and the strings, get it cleaned out really well, and set those aside. We're going to be using them later today. So here at Savvy Saute, I am all about spending less and creating more. So not only do we want to save money, but we want to use up what we have to the best of our ability, and that includes using up those seeds. So we're going to spray or drizzle some olive oil on top of the butternut squash, give it a little bit of seasoning with some salt and pepper, and into a baking dish. We're going to bake this at 375 degrees for about an hour or until it is nice and tender. And while that's baking, we're going to prep our seeds. You just want to get those cleaned up pretty well. Add some salt, pepper, and a little bit of olive oil. Combine that really well together, and it's going to have such a good flavor. You can use this as a snack as is after they're done baking, or like today, we're going to top it on our butternut squash ravioli, and it's just going to give a nice addition to the dish. Bake it at 350 in the oven for about 20 minutes. They'll be nice and crispy. And then we're going to move on to the rest of our sauce. We're going to use half of an onion, chop it up, and saute it with some olive oil until it's pretty tender. And then once that's done, remove it from the heat. We're going to use our butternut squash, take it out of its skin, and put it into a blender along with those onions. A 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, which is so important to this dish. Make sure you do not skip on that. We're also going to add about a 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. Freshly grated is my favorite, but you can use whatever kind you have. We're also going to add a small pinch of salt and pepper, a 1/3 cup of cream or milk, and then we're going to add 1/3 cup of water, and that's just going to help thin it out a little bit as we're blending it, but we're going to thin it out even more later as it cooks. So don't worry about how thick it is right now. This is just for the purpose of getting it blended all together. Once that's nice and creamy, go ahead and set it aside, and we're gonna move on to our ravioli, which is just store-bought. We need to have water prepared for that, make sure it's boiling. And then we're going to start on the rest of our sauce. I am in a separate skillet, melting 2 tablespoons of butter, and I am frying up our sage. I have an entire package here I purchased on clearance. Once that's done, the boiling water should be ready. Add some salt and the package of store-bought ravioli. Then I'm going to move on to the chicken. We're going to season both sides of thinly sliced chicken breast. I just have 2 chicken breasts that I sliced butterfly style. Season both sides with salt and pepper. You can add a little bit of garlic too if you want to, but I like it just as is, and I am cooking it in the same skillet that I had all of the butter and sage. It is going to give it such a good flavor. Make sure the chicken is cooked all the way through to a good internal temperature. And if you don't have a thermometer, you can always slice the chicken in half. Make sure that there is absolutely no pink in there whatsoever. Now for the sauce, we're going to add that over to the same skillet we were using for the chicken. Add some pasta water because that has a nice starch and it's going to thin it out a little bit. And then we're going to add our cooked sage with a little bit of that butter. It is giving it such an amazing flavor. I wouldn't skip on this step as well. Make sure you enjoy that really good sage. Then you can have this as thin as you want to by adding a little bit more pasta water, whatever your preferences are. And then we're going to add our ricotta cheese filled ravioli. Again, this is from the grocery store. You use whatever kind of pasta you want. You can use tortellini, you can use even a plain pasta that isn't filled. And then for plating, we're going to have the chicken, the pasta, and then top everything with some freshly grated Parmesan cheese. And don't forget the seeds. I think they are such a good addition to this dish. It gives a really good flavor as well as a crunch. I am all about really cool textures in our food. If you enjoy pasta dishes, make sure you check out this other video where I share with you a pumpkin-filled homemade pasta with brown butter and sage sauce. You're not going to want to miss that Fall Friday video. So I hope that you enjoy these meals. Give them a try. Let me know in the comments if you do. And until the next video, I'll see you in the comments.